Hello and welcome to the AVForums Christmas Podcast. And joining me for this festive edition are games editor Mark Botwright.
Hey, sprechen Sie talk?
News editor Mark Hodgkinson.
You throw quite a party. I didn't realise they celebrated Christmas in Japan, Steve.
Movies editor Simon Crust.
Thank you, Mr. Cowboy. I'll take it under advisement.
And audio reviewer Ed Selley.
Oh my God, the quarterback is toast.
So welcome to the last podcast of the year and our Christmas special. So basically we're all sitting around eating mince pies, some of us possibly, and drinking the occasional, in case of Ed, incredibly strong German beer. I've got a cheeky little Chablis. What have you got, Mr. Botwright?
I am living the high life with a little bit of Strongbow pear and a touch of homemade cider.
And Mr. Hodgkinson?
Just a glass of Merlot here,
Okay,
a large glass.
That's good. That's what I like to hear. And Simon, what have you got?
I'm supping a gin and tonic because
Ooh.
I'm civilised.
La-di-da.
La-di-bloody-da.
Just whatever you do, don't start mixing your drinks, lads. Come on. Are you listening to that, Ed? By the way, because I think you've already started on that one. Right. Yeah.
No. Sorry. I'm fine. I've only got beer up here, so.
Okay. As it's the last podcast of the year, we thought we might give you some of our favourite products of the year, starting with home cinema products of the year. And I guess we'll go straight to you, Mark Hodgkinson. What are your home cinema products of 2013?
Well, you sent me a list quite earlier on, and there was a lot to look through.
212 to be precise.
Just 212, yeah. So, yeah, quite a job narrowing it down. So I've gone chronological order, no particular favourites, because there are a batch of different products. Paradigm Millennia 1 2.1 CT system, just a pair of satellite speakers and a very meaty bass. Just produced the nicest sound of any audio product I've had in 2013. It was just like a little Apple TV style box, optical connection, very simple, and it's just sounded amazing. Not long after that, I got the Samsung BD F7500 Blu-ray player, which had had all the usual Samsung smart features. It was very quick, very quiet, about all you could want from a Blu-ray player. I had the UView box, the new UView box, which is something that's improved over time. Actually, it's they keep updating the software, they keep improving the features and the on-demand services. So that's a platform that I've got growing faith in, and the hardware that backs it up is a Humax box, which is really good. And then something I spoke about a couple of weeks ago is the Roku 3, which looks very much like the Millennia 1 little black box, just full of internet streaming services, and they're just adding stuff all the time. So we've had since last time we spoke, we've had YouTube update and discovery and launch software. So it's just an ever evolving and ever improving box. And if I know we've done TVs, but I'm going to throw in the Panasonic VT65 for obvious reasons.
And Mr. Selley, what about you?
The one that stands out head and shoulders for me was the Tannoy Precisions that I did actually comparatively recently. They were the main product where it was a case of thinking, I don't want to give these back. They are beautifully made. They look lovely. They aren't very obtrusive, and they just sound phenomenal. I wouldn't necessarily extend that to the sub. It wasn't the Precision sub that was supplied with it. It was one of Tannoy's sort of generic ones, which leads on to one of the other products that really stood out this year was the SVS SB13, which was gratuitous and overkill in a terraced house, but a huge amount of fun whilst we did it. And then after that leads back to, I know we've covered headphones, the Sennheiser Momentum, just a really nicely thought out, really clever, and really impressive sort of product, which should suit a lot of people very well. And then a final honourable mention, simply because it was the most surprising product of the year, to the Focal Arias that I reviewed literally only a couple of weeks ago, because I was expecting more of the same focal stuff, worthy but not necessarily lovable. And they do all the things that focals are supposed to do, and they sound great as well. Really entertaining and really, really lovely speakers. But it's been a strong year for products all round. So those ones stand out. But it's been pretty good for me.
Now, we're a meritocracy here, so I'll give Simon and Mark Botwright a chance to chip in case they've seen something they want to talk about on the hardware side of things. Anything there, guys?
I quite like the look of the OLED tellies, but I haven't owned one. I've only seen it in a display cabinet type shop.
What do you think about the curvature of
the curvature? Was madness.
Well, it's going to get a lot worse before it gets any better. If the news story that's put up this morning is anything to go by. No, 21:9. So in other words, a scope ratio, curved LED LCD screen. What was the resolution on that one, Mark? 5,000 something by
5,120, wasn't it? By 2160, still the same.
Yeah. So same horizontal resolution, but obviously a scope ratio TV. So that was announced this morning and will be on display at CES. So I'll be kind of interested to see how the backlight handles that one.
I'll be kind of interested to see the price on that one as well.
Yeah, it's not going to be cheap.
No. But it is like, I guess it's like having a projector without having a projector. So, kind of an attractive solution for the mega rich, presumably.
Yes, and at least that was a very large scope screen, so having a curvature on it made a little bit more sense than it does on a 55-inch TV.
Agreed.
And I think the other thing that really stood out to me, mainly because of its price, was the 4K Samsung chalkboard thing, which was quite striking.
Yours for 30,000 quid.
30,000 quid. Yeah. Yours for a deposit on a house.
I wouldn't mind so much, but with all due respect to Samsung, it's bloody ugly.
It's ugly as well. Yeah.
It's as ugly as sin, which is surprising from a company that generally makes quite attractive products. But that one, absolute dog, in my opinion. Obviously, that's just my opinion. Mark, you might want to chip in here.
No, that's everyone's opinion, I think. I've not heard a good word said about it.
It was kind of funny, though, at CES this year, back in January, when Phil and I were looking at it with the guy from Samsung, and we were sort of like going, it's not very attractive, is it? And then I pointed out to him that if you moved off axis, the frame blocked your view of the TV.
Which is authentic for watching sort of lower league football, but not
Yeah, quite. Mr. B, anything from your end?
No, when it comes to AV hardware, I will cede to all your expert opinions on that one.
Does that mean you don't use audio-video equipment at any point in your life?
It means that, shall we say, when it comes to new things to buy this year, my eyes have been firmly squared towards the new consoles coming out.
You have had to spend quite a lot of money, haven't you?
Does that count? Does that count as AV hardware, though? Home cinema hardware?
Oh, well, PS4, yeah, it does. They're both
largely in multimedia terms, they're both fairly castrated machines. So
good name
PS4,
for a band, that.
Castrated machines.
Yeah.
No, the fairly castrated machine.
As opposed to the unfairly castrated machines.
But if you want to widen it out a bit, then yes, I've been very impressed with the PS4 simply because of just how they've managed to fit it all into that box. They've designed it as ever. They've made this slightly jaunty edge design, which I think looks a lot better in person than it ever did in pictures. But it's just it runs very quietly. It's very smooth. It's easy to navigate your way around everything. In the UI, but it's just it looks a real marvel of engineering.
True. I'm going to be a bit of a Sony fanboy, really, because a lot of my products are Sony products. I mean, for in terms of projectors, the VW500 was absolutely stellar. The 2D picture in particular was just jaw-droppingly good, even with upscale 1080p. The fact that they've managed to be able to produce a native 4K projector at that price point is impressive, although hopefully we'll see more next year from other manufacturers. I really liked the S790 Blu-ray player. I thought that was a good little Blu-ray player. There were some other ones too, the ones that Mark mentioned, but that was one that I quite enjoyed. I thought their 4K TV was a stunner to look at and also had a fantastic picture, although it was pipped at the post overall in terms of 4K TVs by the Samsung F9000, which I thought was an absolutely stellar television all round, a real gobsmacker. And I know that Mark probably agrees with me on that one.
Aye, Captain.
But the W905 was probably my LED LCD TV of the year. as we discussed last week. I think that's a great television. So again, Sony. In terms of plasmas, I would probably go with the VT as Mark did, just because it's more commonly available. Although I've got to say, special mention has to go to the ZT for being the defining statement in terms of plasma technology, just as the technology is about to disappear, unfortunately. God knows what Mark and I are going to look at next year.
Don't.
I don't want to think about it.
It's a depressing thought the next few months.
But it was if it was its swan song, it was a hell of a swan song, and they certainly looked spectacular. Although again, Samsung's F8500, whilst the black levels weren't as good as the Panasonic, certainly it produced a very nice image, and it was a striking design. As a piece of design on its own, it really was quite gorgeous.
I'll tell you what though, Steve, what's it called, the cinema black feature. So eventually it's kind of a dimming for plasma feature. It was kind of broken, wasn't it, earlier in the year?
Yeah, it wasn't very effective on the one we had.
They fixed it. So the F5500, which has the same setting, and it's totally fixed now. So it's not Panasonic levels, but they've improved. So it's an effective control that really does improve, real world contrast. So yeah,
I think the F5500 for picture for pounds is absolutely stonking value.
Yeah, bar a decent filter and an anti-reflective coating, which it seems to lack both. So it's not so great in daylight or facing a window. At night time, it comes alive and it's an absolute stunner. So 900 quid for the 60-inch at the moment. That's the steal of the century in my book.
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. In terms of AV receivers, I've seen quite a few, and the problem with them I find is that they're all pretty good. So it comes down to fine details in terms of breaking them apart. Some are better at certain things than others. Some have more features. Some have more power. I still think that pound for pound, the Anthems, particularly the MRX 300, offers awesome value because it's just over £1,000. Actually, it's about to be replaced by the 310, but it's £1,000. It comes with its own calibrated mic. Anthem ring correction is incredible. You can't beat that for just £1,000. It will deliver audio quality that will beat receivers 2 or 3 times that value. So again, honourable mention to them. Yeah. Their new lineup has just launched. Sadly, too late in the year for us to really have a chance to review them yet, so that'll be in January. Same goes for JVC. I was looking forward to seeing their projectors, but unfortunately we won't be seeing those until January, so that'll have to wait till next year. But it's been I think all round been a really, really good year for products. Been a transitionary year, obviously. We've had OLED, as Simon's mentioned, which certainly I'm not a big fan of the curve, but in terms of pure image quality, just unbelievable. 4K is starting to really make an impression. 4K projectors, 4K TVs, and it definitely makes the upcoming CES in the first week of January really exciting.
Oh, just before we came on, actually, just having a quick flick through, and I noticed Richer Sounds are reducing the price of the 55-inch LG OLED by £3,000, so it's now 4,995. That's a bit of a move ahead of CES, isn't it?
I noticed that they dropped the price of their 4K TV significantly as well.
Yeah,
over £1,000. It's dropped from 5.5 to 4.5 since I reviewed it. Still not a great TV, but at least it's £1,000 cheaper.
God, you'd be pissed if you just bought it, wouldn't you?
What, the LG OLED?
Hey,
yeah.
God.
I don't think there's been too many buyers out there yet. I think maybe there were about 100 pre-orders or something like that.
Really? I would love to have seen it. We haven't had a chance to review it, but it was technically when it launched. At least it was.
You can afford one now.
Sorry,
you can afford one now. It's only £5,000.
Yeah, only £5,000. I tell you, if I had £5,000 spare, I wouldn't be going on a TV. Probably going on a wife. I'd be buying a mail order bride in.
What's the warranty on one of those? Bet Richard Sounds giving you a better warranty on the telly.
Okay, well, on that sexist note, we'll end the hardware news. We're back in a second with the games news. So this time, Mr. Botwright, all over to you. Games of the year, what were they?
Well, as ever, we're a little bit of a democracy in the games team, so that'll probably be covered in depth on the January Games podcast. But there are obviously some pretty big leading contenders. Whilst you've had some nice little oddities like Papers, Please, which is a kind of crushingly bleak depiction of working in a passport control office in some kind of Eastern European state. The big guns, things like Grand Theft Auto 5, Bioshock Infinite, and The Last of Us will probably be the ones that will be talked about the most. I've just finished Tearaway on the Vita, and that has shot straight into probably my Games of the Year list. It's a fantastic little game, full of creativity, uses the tech on the Vita amazingly well. You forget how much Sony packed into that little handheld. It's a great follow-up to Little Big Planet from Media Molecule. It's more of a focused single-player game, but it just, I don't know. It's one of those games that seems to have recaptured the idea that, in fact, playing should make you happy. That before trying to engage people, before trying to make them think, and before simply, throwing this, array of different light shows at your face and lots of kind of bombast and loud noises, that it should just make you happy. And it's almost like a kind of Nintendo game, like the best game Nintendo never made. It's absolutely fantastic.
That sounds great. Does it share any similarities with LBP? I must say the only thing I know about Tearaway, it was the game that Xavi mixed up with PS Vita console orders, wasn't it? But
yes.
Does it share any mechanical similarities with LBP?
In a way, in that it uses kind of user creativity, but whereas Little Big Planet always felt to me like you were collecting things, you were playing the levels, not for the sake of actually playing the levels, but so that you could collect things that you could then go and make your own levels. So you wanted to collect enough bits and bobs that you could make interesting levels, and the stickers and things like that. In Tearaway, it's more based on the single player. So the things that you create will be, I think I mentioned in the other podcast, you make a crown for a squirrel. And it's mad little things like that. You've got to use the camera to take pictures, and it's just lots of odd little things like that. It's very much built around the kind of idea of paper craft. So you're drawing little shapes and you're sticking pieces together. It feels a bit like kind of Blue Peter meets Little Big Planet.
Do you make a crown for a real squirrel, or was it a virtual squirrel?
No, I'm afraid it was a virtual squirrel, Steve.
And
there is nothing to stop you making one for a real squirrel if you fancy it.
No, other than the presence of Springwatch harassing you, I'm sure there's no problem with that.
If you cause no harm to the squirrel and make it a very fetching sort of headdress, I don't see what the problem would be.
If you can catch the bugger, because they're pretty fast.
Have you ever tried to catch a squirrel?
I don't know.
Not saying that I have.
Where I used to work in London, they were ridiculously tame. I don't think it would be a trouble at all to drop a sort of fancy headset on one. But that's maybe just me.
Well, best luck with that.
We want photos.
Yeah,
your manager.
I want to see a selfie with you and the squirrel with his crown.
The look of abject fear on the squirrel's face.
Other than that, I mean, the big ones will be, I think the big three that will feature in most people's lists will be The Last of Us, Bioshock Infinite, and Grand Theft Auto 5. I've got to say, Bioshock Infinite, I liked it. I enjoyed it massively. Solid gunplay, but I wasn't sold on a lot of the things that people kind of raved about. I wasn't really sold on the whole verticality of sky hooks and changing levels for combat. I just thought the whole thing was slick. It had an interesting story, but a bit like the original Bioshock, there isn't really a great penalty for death or anything like that, and it's more about trying to draw you along to the conclusion of the story, which without wishing to spoil anything, I don't think warrants over analysis.
Okay, I mean, this might surprise everyone, but my game of the year would actually be The Last of Us. Although, in the interest of full disclosure, that's the only game I've played this year.
Well, honestly, you probably played the best game of the year. You really did. It's just it's Naughty Dog. It's built on solid, kind of rewarding gameplay. It's very accessible with the stealth and the crafting system, but it's all about the story and the character interplay and the relationship with this anti-hero and this young girl. It builds and. Okay. You could, if you've just played a couple of hours, you could say, well, isn't this just Children of Men in game form? Slightly skewed, but it takes the whole idea of the damsel in distress trope and kind of uses it before tearing it down, and it almost asks for reflection. And the ending is, I genuinely believe, possibly the greatest video game ending I've ever seen.
I was just going to say, almost exactly the same as you, Steve. The only game I've played this year is Diablo 3 for the PS3. I quite enjoyed that, but then I like the original.
Simon Crust reviews game. Diablo 3, it's all right.
Right.
So that's Simon and me covered with one game each. Or the gamer, aren't you? What have you been playing?
Me? Sorry, it was too much.
Well,
water.
you.
Well, I bought more games than you did. I think it's fair to say, but I'm ashamed to say.
If you buy 2 games, you bought.
Well, there you go. I bought 2 games this year, and they were Last of Us and GTA 5, and they are in their wrapper. Still
waiting for Christmas.
Waiting for I don't know what. I can't get myself motivated to go late at night to go and sit down and play a console anymore. So I'm more of a tablet gamer these days. So the games I've enjoyed on tablets have been Osmos, which is a kind of you play as a planet and you try and eat other planets. Just works with motion control, and a game I've recently picked up called Roller Bear, which is kind of part pinball, part golf, part bowling, just complete madness. And that's kind of it for me. I just kind of have 20 minutes after dinner playing a little bit of mobile gaming, and I can't be bothered to switch a console on late at night anymore.
You really need to unwrap GTA 5.
No, I'm going to. I've kept them. So I've kept them. I'm going to do it. I am going to do it.
Because as soon as you start in that, you can't kind of turn away. I think the first couple of hours, I felt it was a little bit of a slog, because they try to set up the whole story. But once you get into this world, it's. I think Rockstar have outdone themselves in that it's like a bizarre satire of a satire, and nothing makes any great sense. But you're not supposed to look for any sense in that universe.
Yeah, I didn't really enjoy GTA 4 very much. I did play quite a bit of that, and I didn't really get into it. So it's kind of put me off. And not Vice City, that is probably my game of all time. GTA, I played it to T-shirt completion level, so I did the whole thing. And, unbelievable amount of hours into that game. Never been so lost in a game in all my life. But the soundtrack, the CD collection, a lot. So 4 put me off. It was good. It was an okay game, but it just didn't have the wit or the humour. So if they've recaptured some of that, then that's good news.
No, I'd say definitely give it a try, because I was in exactly the same situation. I was, I would have many conversations where I would try and defend Vice City when people would tell me that San Andreas was a better game. I just felt Vice City had the atmosphere. I loved the music. I loved the setting. I loved the ridiculous 80s suits. Yep. Everything was perfect for me there. GTA 4 was the one that kind of just put me off.
Po-faced.
It was po-faced. It was too serious. I just, there was something dull and drab about the world as well. But they've thrown that out. And as soon as you get onto some of the character of Trevor's rampage missions, there's one that's absolutely phenomenal, where he gets annoyed with hipsters.
Something we can all relate to.
But he goes off into his own little mad world, and then you've got to, enact this massacre, and there are people on scooters trying to run you down in the middle of the street, and people on their mobile phones, and it's just absolutely mad. And once you start kind of riding around on kind of little dirt buggies and the like, you'll just lose yourself in the mountains.
That does sound great. I might go play it tonight even.
Oh.
And Mr. Selley,
sod whatever you wanted proofing, Steve. I'm not doing it. I'm going to GTA 5.
That's the Christmas spirit.
Yeah, fair enough.
What I shall term the Withers approach. I've only bought one game this year as well. So Gran Turismo 5 is both simultaneously the best and worst game I've bought this year. Sadly, if I look at it objectively, the magic's gone from that one. Maybe I'm getting old. Maybe I don't like arcade, the sort of arcadey stuff creeping in around the corners of it. But I haven't played it now in 10 days. It's just sat there doing nothing. Not blown away with it. To put it in perspective, I have mentioned this in previous podcasts. I have an immaculate Amiga 1200, which normally lives in a box because I can't have it out all the time. But I'm down at my parents' this Christmas, and my brother has said, "Can you bring the Amiga with you?" It's like, okay, right, fine. So that's been done, and I have just ran some tests on it earlier today, and was playing Alien Breed Special Edition 92, and I had more fun dicking around with that for an hour and a half, just to test it properly, thoroughly, you understand, than I did with Gran Turismo 5, and I think that's quite sad. But that's the way of things. But
sad indictment of our times, Ed.
No, it's a sad indictment that I've always had a fairly limited set of games that I've loved, and it's just a shame when one of them, where I've owned every other permutation of Gran Turismo there has ever been, that this one just isn't blowing my frock up. It's a shame, but we'll see, and we'll see what the PS4 holds, and if that comes out with a decent racing game, who knows? See where it goes from there.
I did say games of the year. I didn't say they were electronic games though. So Cards Against Humanity could count.
Well, I've only that's to say that's arrived. I haven't tinkered with it yet. I need to be more beers in before I really go for Cards Against Humanity. But as I say, I don't think it came across well in the podcast. It is absolutely hilarious, especially if, like me, you have no sense of taste or decency. Then it's fantastic. So just give it a go if you're feeling intrigued.
If you're not into games that are into kind of taste and decency, one of the games that I really enjoyed this year, but I couldn't kind of in any good conscience give it a really high score, but Killer is Dead. From Grasshopper Manufacture. It's a game from Suda51, who's kind of notoriously mad. It's got a story that makes absolutely no sense. It hints that it's all symbolism, but when you've got a scene where someone's being killed and the big kind of cinematic shot is a fried egg being sliced in two, you're just in a world of madness. And I absolutely loved that game, but I couldn't really score it that highly.
Thank you. I assume that the games team will be giving us their games of the year in the next game podcast on the 14th of January.
Yes, we shall. Fingers crossed Steve Hill is better for that one.
Right, brilliant. That's it for games then. We'll be back in a minute with movies. By the way, what's at the cinema, Steve? That's not happening today because I was going to go and see Anchorman 2 last night, and it was blowing a fucking hurricane, and I thought I'm not going out in that. No way.
Yeah,
dedication to the cause.
Oh, sod it. It was seriously windy last night, and I thought I'm not going to get stuck on the M4 in some gale. So I decided to stay in and watch a bit of my Elysium disc anyway. Right, so we'll go straight to movies of the year. Simon Crust, over to you, sir.
Movies.
Take the obvious here, but following the order on this running list.
Oh, well, who looks at that? Yeah, who looks at that? Right. Oh, now, yes. I don't know. You can't come to me for that. There's been loads.
Again, I'm going to come back to this. You're the movies editor.
Yeah. Okay, but I'm not an individual here. We are a group of people who all watch and enjoy films. I'm not sure I can pick a film of the year because there hasn't been anything really that has involved me to such a point where I would say this is my. This is it. This is the film that I'm always going to go back to. There's been several pretty good ones. Can I do that? Can I list some pretty good ones that I enjoyed?
Yeah. Okay. So from our movies editor, everybody, we're going to get the okay films of the year.
I've got to say no order because
because you haven't thought about
apples and oranges. Because I haven't thought about it at all. Films. Okay. Pacific Rim. That was quite enjoyable. Iron Man 3, I like that. That was good. I had good fun there. Cool, blimey. Oblivion, that was another one. That was quite good. But you've been to see more films at the cinema than I have.
I have, Simon, and you're sacked. Yeah, I've seen a lot more. I'll come back to me at the end. Okay, fine. Ed, films of the year.
In terms of that, I haven't seen as many as I would like. Normally, I should just hand over to my wife at this point. Up until the baby being born, she watched all of them. I did thoroughly enjoy Pacific Rim once I got around to watching it. Leave your brain in a box by the sofa and just enjoy giant robots smacking the crap out of one another. Same, I suppose, goes for Fast and the Furious 6. Again, I don't think it was good as 5, personally speaking, but enjoyable nonetheless. And after that, it all goes a bit quiet, really. I wasn't, I have to say, especially taken with I think it was Skyfall very early this year or late
No,
last
that
year.
was last year.
That was last year.
Shows how much attention I was paying. And there was something else. And I can't
Did you go and
remember.
see Rush?
Yes. Now, again, that I suppose would count thoroughly. Although that being said, I haven't found myself checking desperately for when it gets released on Blu-ray. I went to cinema. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a very nice and tidy piece of filmmaking. And I've enjoyed listening to the soundtrack since, but I haven't found myself going, oh gosh, when is that actually released on disc? Because I'll rush out and own it, no pun intended. But no, you're right. Nice, tidy piece of filmmaking, and yeah, I did enjoy that. And then after that, it may just be the Schneider vice of Entimus, but it's all a bit of a blur after that point. So yeah, hard to say.
Okay.
I mean, I could list loads of. I mean, Thor, Gravity, Flight, Elysium. That this year as well, wasn't it? I mean, they're all reasonably good, enjoyable, watchable films, but they've all got slight niggles with them, and you think, Anyway,
yeah. Well, actually, I mean, sorry, I'm not taking the piss out of you, but I actually tend to agree that this year there have been a lot of disappointments or average and mediocre films, but it's difficult to come up with truly great movies that I've seen this year. Like Rush, I was looking forward to Rush. I enjoyed Rush. Was it brilliant? It was enjoyable and it was well made, but then that's kind of Ron Howard, a bit of a journeyman. He does a good job, but it wasn't a great film. Gravity, I did enjoy immensely. But again, people have been talking about having the best 3D of all time, and that's just not the case. I've seen plenty of films with superior 3D to Gravity, but I did enjoy it. It is a very well-made piece of film, very well-made film. I enjoyed Elysium to a degree. There were elements of it that I found difficult because I think the characterization was difficult to root for the character to some extent, and the rather heavy-handed symbolism. I know that was the intention, but it is very heavy-handed, that it kind of took away a little bit from it. Having said that, it was beautifully designed, particularly Elysium itself, and I have just finished interviewing Sid Mead, who designed it, and that was pretty cool, talking to the guy that designed the spinners from Blade Runner and the light cycles from Tron. And yeah, that bit of it, that element of the film was particularly impressive. I just wish they'd spent more time on Elysium and a little less time stuck in Mexico City, because I know what a slum looks like. I want to see the cool spaceship stuff. Man of Steel, half of it was great, half of it was appalling.
So I'd forgotten about that one.
Thor was okay, but I always find the idea of a Norse god running around a little bit silly. I know he's an alien, but it's just a bit stupid. Iron Man 3, I did enjoy immensely. I thought the way that they handled the Mandarin was good, even though other people have said that they thought it was stupid. It seemed like if you do it as it is in the comics, it's frankly racist. And they couldn't just do it the way it was in the comics. Pacific Rim, I did enjoy immensely. Obviously, my film of the year is Fast and the Furious 6. It was just a masterpiece. There's no other two ways about it, really. And The Rock is a living god. So film of the year for me, Fast and the Furious 6, easily.
Would you say it was a fitting tribute to Paul Walker?
Yes. If you're going to go, that was a pretty good film to leave for mankind. I mean, one of the all-time greatest films ever made. Is not a bad legacy, is it? So that's it. Mark Hodgkinson, what have you seen?
I was hoping you wouldn't ask me. I've got
no, you've got nothing to say.
I'm similarly bereft, I have to say.
I tend to be a year behind with movies, like grown-up movies. I do see kids' movies on time.
What like?
Sorry?
What was one?
No, we bought it, but it's a Christmas present.
present.
Yeah. So
I just like the idea that when this podcast actually goes live on the site, you'll be sat there thinking there's not enough alcohol in the world.
No, I'll watch it.
It's all right.
No, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to sit down and watch it. My commitment to my girls is that large that I will sit down and watch that with them once.
Bless you.
And then that's it.
Once. You're going to get the credits will finish rolling and you'll go, we must never speak.
We will never do this again. I bought a 3D Blu-ray as well. Can you believe it, Steve?
Well, obviously, you buy a 3D Blu-ray. You want to see it in 3D. It was an 80.
Yeah, but my daughter can't even see in 3D. So, it's a bit selfish.
What'll be really funny is if you watch it and at the end of it you go, that was brilliant.
Well, my wife loves it. She went to the cinema to watch it and she says it was amazing.
Yeah, she went with her friends.
She asked for wand erection tickets.
Yeah, I didn't like I asked for the details, to be quite honest.
Okay. Let's move on from movies. where it's basically me, to something that I know we've all seen this year, TV programs. So, Mark Hodgkinson. No, I know you watch a lot of TV programs.
I do watch a lot of TV, but then again, I don't know what year I'm watching from.
You don't know what year you're in, do you?
We'll take a few stats. No, I do know what year I'm in, but I don't know what year stuff gets made.
Well, I'll tell you.
So, I got caught up with Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones, that's 2013.
Season 2 in March, yeah. That was brilliant.
That was great. Absolutely loved that. Probably not my absolute favourite. I'll get there in a minute. I don't really need to say much about Game of Thrones, do we? It's just great entertainment. House of Cards, that was this year, wasn't it?
Yes.
It was, yes.
Yes, good. Doing well. I'm on a roll. Stunning entertainment, Netflix original. Just brilliant performances and plot throughout. Totally gripping political drama. Spartacus.
Yeah.
2013. Yeah, I watched the whole lot. Was the last one 2013?
The disc came out in 2013.
Yeah, that'll count, doesn't it? So I watched all 4 series of that this year. That was great. Absolutely,
got quite
totally over the top.
The very end of the credits of the last episode, the last series, when you see and Andy Whitfield. I actually blubbed a little bit at that point. To be honest.
I mean, I thought the first 4 episodes were pretty rubbish, and it didn't really find its feet. Well, not rubbish so much. I kept watching, but then it found its feet.
Because they introduced so many new characters in that first few episodes. You took time to get to know them. You didn't know Caesar, you didn't know Crassus, so you had to spend a bit of time getting, because everyone else was dead apart from the slaves. So you had to spend time getting to understand. But after a few episodes, it kind of found its feet. You got used to those characters, and I actually thought the relationship between Crassus and Caesar was well played. I wouldn't mind seeing if they continued with that element of the story now, and the rise of Julius Caesar would be equally as enjoyable to watch, I think.
I don't want to spoil it, but I mean, did you think at one point on the last episode they might just win? I was physically cheering them on. I thought, go on, I don't care what you do to the historical stories. Bloody win!
And the famous Kubrick film, I kind of knew how it was going to end.
Yeah, no, I mean, in my heart of hearts, I knew, but there was just that faint glimmer of hope at one point. And that's Boardwalk Empire as well. So yeah, that was stunning.
Absolutely.
It's amazing television. Television is so much good television. I mean, I probably watch it at the expense of movies these days because I just find it a little bit more, generally, a little bit more daring, and a little bit more interesting. Dare I say it?
Same way that I've been disappointed at the cinema almost consistently this entire year. Conversely, I have been frequently amazed at the quality of television that's currently being produced across the board. Absolutely. Simon, you've done a whole piece on.
Yeah. There's been some. I mean, you just said it. There's been some stunning television, and again, to pick one out of everything that's been released is very, very difficult. Hannibal, fabulous,
in the middle
fabulous
of
show
right now. It's graphic, isn't it?
It's
really gory.
Yeah.
But absolutely nail-biting and compulsive viewing, and Mads Mikkelsen's awesome as Hannibal.
Yeah, it's incredible that show. I think I would probably go for Breaking Bad because the whole lot has been released.
That one.
I can't believe I forgot that.
See, the whole lot being released this year to get everything, so you can binge watch from the beginning up to the end. That is an incredible show. Riveting stuff. Very, very difficult to stop watching once you put a disc in. Very, very difficult. That's a fabulous show, that one. So I think I'll probably go with that, even though Game of Thrones, is nipping at his heels all the time, because there's only been one season and I'm waiting for more. I think I'll go with Breaking Bad.
Okay, Mr. Botwright, anything on television that caught your fancy?
Yeah, I mean, you've had Inspector Montalbano series has returned. You've even had a prequel series, The Young Montalbano. Justified season 4. I think that's UK TV. That was this year. The Walking Dead, the same terrestrial TV.
Walking Dead, of course.
And I have to say, I'm slightly addicted to Gogglebox, but I feel ashamed to say it.
No, don't be ashamed.
You're not. You're in very good company. I'm afraid.
Very good company. Yeah, I love that program. I don't know why, but I absolutely love that program.
Yeah, I'm just glad I got locks on my doors when I watch.
Yeah.
What about you, Ed? What's been catching your fancy? Apart from, we know The Killing was a big hit with you.
Well, I'm trying to think about stuff that hasn't already been mentioned. I mean, I have to say, House of Cards for me is my standout as someone that hasn't ever got into Game of Thrones or Breaking Bad, and I'll watch those when I'm 40 and I've got the time. I just sorry at the moment I have to focus purely on stuff I can do in the short term. House of Cards was excellent. I have also thoroughly enjoyed Hannibal as well. I find it's particularly amusing that Mads Mikkelsen is almost exclusively vegetarian when he spends his time dicking about large bits of offal. I think that's always quite nice. It's like that poor sodded old boy eating the octopus. And then I seem to specialise in watching TV programmes that nobody else does. I've been enjoying. They're both going on at the moment. I've been enjoying the second series of Elementary, the Johnny D. Miller Sherlock thing. I think it's nice, tidy, and usefully different to the Benedict Cumberbatch BBC version. And again, I'm the only person apparently on Earth watching it, but Person of Interest season 2, loving it on a level I can't easily describe. And also because I'm just weird, two series this year in 2013 of Air Crash Investigation, and it's bloody excellent. Really enjoy it. Plus, I found it has a weird effect on my son, who obviously is very, very small. The narration is so calm and smooth, it just instantly puts him to sleep. So if he's grizzling, you just sit him down in front of a plane crashing, and he's asleep in minutes. It's fantastic. I mean, I'm probably growing a psychopath doing something like that, but it works really well.
That'd be bloody handy if you ever actually are in a plane crash with him then, because he'll be quite calm as you're going down while you're screaming your head off.
Only if the narrator is sat behind us, giving us a blow-by-blow account.
Okay, that's TV programs then. Now, Simon, we are going to do Blu-rays of the year, so over to you. I thought you
again. No. It's difficult to pick on what would you call a top Blu-ray, picture, sound, or package. You know, there are degrees on what you would pick. So I mean, if we try and go for
sound quality as opposed to the quality of the film in question, because we kind of cover that with the films. But in terms of what you'd call demo quality material, what would you class as a great demo disc for someone to pick up?
Wow, there's been loads this year. Oblivion was one. Flight was another. Iron Man 3. That would be one.
Elysium is a stunning disc.
Elysium is stunning, yeah, but nobody would have seen that. I know you and I have, but that is an amazing disc. Skyfall was this year, wasn't it? That's another.
That was in February. Yeah,
another awesome package.
I'm going to have to bring something up with you. I've got a bone to pick with you, Simon. Just made me remember. No one has reviewed The Hobbit: Unexpected Journey Extended Cut.
Oh, that's because it's boring as hell.
It's a 10 out of 10 picture, 10 out of 10 sound. It's got 10 out of 10 features. It's got 3D, and yet it seems to have been completely forgotten about.
Well, you've just reviewed it there.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
It's technically awesome, but it's just like a wet weekend in Scunthorpe for it.
If I wanted to watch a real-time meal with dwarves, I go and stand out in Koreatown.
Oh God, don't you?
No, that's a joke.
So well.
New Girl. Another TV show I quite like. It was a joke from New Girl. It's not me personally.
Oh yeah, you like that Deschanel woman.
I love Zooey Deschanel. I would crawl through broken glass to get a bit of her.
It's just dull.
She'd still tell you fuck off.
Blood and broken glass. What would you want me for? Thanks for crushing my fantasy there.
That's why I'm here.
Okay. Sorry, Simon. Any more?
I'm a bit loath to say it, but Fast and Furious 6 was actually quite demo worthy because I know you love it so much.
You appreciate the genius of the Fast and Furious.
I don't know if Simon takes enough recreational drugs for that to make sense.
Man of Steel looks amazing, even though I'm not a massive fan of the film itself.
Yeah.
Can I just say, obviously, Star Trek Into Darkness. I know, Simon, it's not a favourite,
yes.
of yours. Is a beautiful, beautiful disc. I mean, I do more sound than picture because I'm blind, and I tend towards the audio anyway. Sonically, it's just beautifully done.
Yeah.
Someone put a lot of time and effort into that.
Yeah.
And it's as much about the wonderful incidental detail as it is the fact that it goes down very deep and all the rest of it. It's really, really nice. And I would say, actually, obviously it's kind of bass heavy, but again, someone put a lot of care and attention into Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
That's actually a very tidy Blu-ray as well. And it's an interesting test for speaker systems because so much of the soundtrack is heavily involved in the LFE channel. If you've got a subwoofer which isn't up to the job, it's interesting. I did a review of that Tannoy sub separately, the TS212, and it was doing really well up until the point where I watched Pacific Rim, and it just said, I don't know what's going on here, and just sort of collapsed into a sort of noisy mess. A very interesting test disc, that.
I still had the data set when I watched the Pacific Rim disc, and I thought the house was going to fall down. It was there was so much bass energy in that soundtrack, and the room was just fully loaded by the time we got halfway through the movie. Yeah. But it was quite an experience. We're running long here. We're going to have to move on, I think. Anyone got any more Blu-rays they want to add? We need to get on with the Christmas stuff, yeah. Otherwise, it's not much of a Christmas podcast, is it really? Right, gentlemen, thank you for that. That's movies. We'll be back with some Christmas topics, basically.
We're going to talk about Christmas in the Christmas podcast.
We're going to try to talk about Christmas in the Christmas podcast.
I haven't got that far down the email yet. What we're talking about.
Can I just say I've now finished the 8.2% beer and I can no longer feel my fingers.
That's going to make masturbation interesting.
Thumbs have gone weird.
But strangely erotic.
Right, this was your suggestion, Ed. But what I think is the greatest Christmas song of all time?
Now I could childishly say that it's a song by the Vandals and it's on Spotify and it's called "My First Christmas (brackets) as a Woman," and it is one of the most magnificently brilliant Christmas records, or indeed that records full stop ever done. I'm not going to spoil it. It's on YouTube, it's on Spotify. If you're bored and you're listening to this on Christmas Day, just get stuck in. I don't want to ruin it for you. Have a whale of a time. But the single greatest Christmas record ever written, better than the Pogues, better than anything else, is Santa Claus is Back in Town by Elvis Presley. It's just perfect. He's at the absolute peak of his performance. He's surrounded by musicians who are the absolute best that the all-powerful 50s or early 60s American record companies could get. It is the whole album is perfect, but that opening track, it's just phenomenal on another level. There is nothing that can get close to that. So that's it for me. But I'm sure you're going to disagree with me.
I'm sure it's good, but does the video match East 17's Stay Another Day?
Now that's an unexpectedly telling blow, because I don't know if it has a video at all. But no, in Christmas video terms, no, it suffers there. But I've never been about the picture. It's all about the sound. For me, it's that by roughly the distance of the Earth to the sun.
Is that the same album that's got "Merry Christmas, Baby" on? The old blues song, the Elvis.
No, this is the first Elvis Christmas album.
Right. I used to have that one on vinyl. "Merry Christmas, Baby" Elvis was also fantastic. I know it wasn't his originally.
This is the first one. And most of it's actually really traditional. It's got like hymns and Silent Night and stuff, all of which is just gobsmackingly gorgeous. The only other Elvis original on it is "Blue Christmas," which isn't actually about porn. I was disappointed about that.
No, this had Blue Christmas on it as well, so maybe. It was
He obviously got his use
cashing in. Yeah.
As a child, I thought "Lonely This Christmas" by Mud was Elvis, because I know he's doing effectively doing an impression of Elvis in the song. But I thought it was an Elvis song for years, and then I discovered it was a Mud song, nothing to do with Elvis whatsoever. But he does do an impression of. In my defence, he's doing an impression of Elvis in the song, so that's probably what confused me as a 5-year-old. But I would definitely go. I've got 3 favourite Christmas songs, 2 which I think are sung by the same person. I think Darlene Love does 2 of them. "Christmas Baby Please Come Home," which is a Phil Spector song that I always associate with the beginning of Gremlins. "All Alone at Christmas," which is sung by Darlene Love again, which I think is a fantastic. Written, by the way, Mark Hodgkinson, by Steve Van Zandt.
Really?
Sopranos and Lilyhammer.
Lilyhammer.
And my favourite all-time Christmas song is the anti-Christmas song, "I Believe in Father Christmas," which is kind of against the whole concept of Christmas, which is great in my book. Or you done that? Was Elvis your
No, that wasn't that way. It just reminded me of that. Yeah, I probably would have chosen that. I just reminded me of it. I've just Googled.
I hate that
What's
song
it called?
so much.
Jonah Louis, Stop the Cavalry.
That one. I quite like that. And I like.
Never intended to be a Christmas.
The Pogues is probably my favourite one with Kirsty MacColl. Whatever it's called, Fairy Tale of New York. I love that song. That makes me feel Christmassy.
Well, Band-Aid's quite good for sentimental reasons more than anything else.
Yeah, I don't know anything with Bono.
It's a bit worthy.
But it was written by my neighbour. Midge Ure lives down the road, so. But I wouldn't
That's not a claim to fame.
Certainly not for Midge Ure.
I'm imagining some kind of weird single white female scenario here with Steve. Steve sporting the little ponytail one day.
Yeah, little pencil thin moustache, trench coat, picture of The Rock in my pocket.
Is that a picture of The Rock in the pocket?
All right, look, Simon, what's yours?
I haven't got one. I can't bear these
Thanks, Simon. You've got to ask.
Drive me mad. That's one of the reasons I can't stand shopping at any time during December, because you can't get away from these bloody Christmas songs. It just drives me insane. I can't bear them. But if I had to pick one, it would be the Pogues one.
Oh, Phil pointed one out, didn't he? Orbital Chime, the Christmas version.
That's actually very good.
Yeah, that is really good. And it's kind of a song really well suited to it, kind of bearing in mind the instruments or the synthesized instruments used. Yeah, that works really well. That's a good, nice new Christmas song.
I would say one of the strangest Christmas records. I've just been reminded of this. Really weird. Did you know James Brown did a Christmas record?
Yes. Funny enough, I think I've got that.
Santa Claus Goes Straight to the Ghetto. I mean, no, that's actually genuinely what it's called. And it's just the most surreal thing. The Godfather of Soul singing a Christmas record. It's very odd. Not bad, but odd.
On Spotify?
Yes, of course.
Of course. Oh, I should look that up.
I remember a friend of mine back in 1984 being utterly incensed that Queen had done a Christmas record when they did Thank God It's Christmas. And I thought, hang on a minute. But Queen have got no integrity whatsoever. Why is that an issue? But he seemed to be gutted that they'd done a Christmas song. It's like, well, they're the least fashionable band in the history of the planet.
Did he cut his Brian May hair off in protest, or?
Yeah, and stop wearing his clogs.
Started listening to Rush records exclusively.
The second least fashionable band in the world.
We're having a sort of diversion of subjects anyway. I just as an aside, I've been sent a streamer for review, and I'm not joking. It has every single Rush album ever has been supplied on the library thing for this. I mean, literally, there's about 25 Rush albums. I had no idea there were so many. It's like, well, I listened to Tom Sawyer and thought, well, that's that done then.
Just all sound the same. Is there any evidence of excessive beard hair on this streamer anyway?
Do you know what? Actually, the product's fine. I just thought it was amusing. But every single Queen album is on there as well. It literally is it's like 4 terabytes of dad rock.
And Botwright, what about you?
Sounds like a schoolmaster.
Well, no, I just couldn't bother to say Mark, whatever. So
right,
up a little bit.
When it comes, obviously, if we've already put down East 17, Stay Another Day. and you would have to put in Wham! Last Christmas as well.
Good call.
Yes, no, you do.
Although, is that about a bloke? Because now he's gay. It kind of has a different. It all sounds a bit different suddenly. So I missed all that subtext the first time around.
Doesn't matter.
The bit about you tore me apart. I don't know. That's not good.
Oh God!
You've lowered it once again.
Man in trouble.
You're the man who makes everyone else cry at Christmas, aren't you?
With you.
Right, Shaking Stevens.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas, everyone. And I would have to say, though, if we're talking about bizarre, Roy Wood teaming up with the Wombles, I wish it could be a wombling Merry Christmas every day. They try to shoehorn the lyrics into the same tune, and it is a train wreck. And it's well worth watching.
Is it like an entire song of like that line in Toto's Africa where they get Serengeti, which has far too many syllables for the line?
Yes, yeah. Because they do it. So, I wish it could be Christmas every day, but then they try to fit in, I wish it could be a wombling Merry Christmas every day. And then they just have to try and go on. And seeing Roy Wood perform on stage with 6-foot wombles, that's Christmas to me. Christmas was better in the 80s, the Future Heads.
That's actually quite a good record. In the same way that I Want an Alien for Christmas by Fountains of Wayne is in its own way quite charming.
There is a good cover of A Wonderful Christmas Time by Tom McRae. That's actually a very good cover as well. A bit maudlin, a bit somber, but E17 still wins.
I don't know, that new Doritos cover version of it with the mariachi. Everything's better when played by a mariachi.
That is good.
That's a PhD thesis in the making, if I'm honest. But
They've even got the backing dancers right in there as well.
Well, I'm gonna have to answer this question, only because Ed kind of teased us a little bit yesterday when it was first posited as a question for this podcast. But it's Christmas traditions. Do any of you, and I'm going to start with Ed here because we have to talk about this now. Do any of you have specific Christmas traditions that you're either were forced upon you by your family every year, or you actually do genuinely want to do every year? Ed.
All right. Okay. When this podcast goes out, if you're listening to this sometime between 11 o'clock in the morning and 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Christmas Day, I will be overseeing the barbecuing of a Christmas turkey. The reasons behind it, it's not purely because my family is mental, although that probably plays a part. Years and years ago, on Christmas Eve, my mum was thoroughly cleaning the kitchen prior to making it a huge mess again, as is the wont of people before Christmas Day, and she broke the glass liner on the inside of the oven door, which kind of put a bit of a damper on cooking Christmas dinner.
How did she manage to do that, by the way? Because they're pretty tough.
She'd unscrewed it and was cleaning both sides. She's a very thorough lady.
Is she the Hulk?
No, she dropped it, you fool. Yes, she got really angry.
You never said that. You said she was cleaning it and it broke. I mean, I'm thinking, what the hell?
Well, suffice to say that actually, just out of desperate expediency, my dad family had a half bag of charcoal briquettes in the garage. And thought, well, I'll barbecue it. And do you know what? I will say it worked marvelously for two reasons. One, it means that both my dad and I don't reach a point of total inebriation before we eat, because we have to go and tend to fire. But it also takes a huge amount of strain off the kitchen, because you're not trying to cook around this bloody enormous bird. And that's a reference to the turkey and not my mother, just so we're clear on this.
Does the barbecue have a lid?
Yes, it's a Weber drum.
And is there foil involved?
You wrap it for the first sort of 90 minutes and then unwrap it so you get a nice sort of smoke edge to it and it browns up beautifully. Yeah, and no, it works really, really well. If it's raining, it doesn't matter. You can light a Weber in anything other than a Typhoon. Trust me, they're just fantastic.
How long does it take?
Depends on the size of the bird.
Well, per pound.
With it ticking over at about 320, 350 degrees, you can do it in 2 hours.
Not bad. That'll keep it nice and moist.
Before we go on, then, Mark, you used to be a chef, so any Christmas food tips for?
Yeah, well, the turkey, I kind of cook it a lot faster to stop it drying out. So,
right, yeah. How do I get it moist then? How do I keep it moist?
Break its back. So lean on it with all your weight on.
I thought you were going to say break its heart.
In between. Break its heart.
Tell it you don't love it anymore.
Yeah.
Then kill it and break its back.
Yeah. And then slice its legs off and cook those separately. So effectively you make yourself a crown, or just buy a turkey crown and turkey, because I like the brown meat, I like the turkey legs, but it has to be roasted slowly, and then so either slice its legs off and cook it as a crown with the legs a bit slower, or break its back and it's kind of a spatchcock affair almost.
This is sounding a little bit Hannibal.
Yeah, it is a bit. It is a bit gruesome, but it'll cook a lot faster and it'll keep it a lot more moist. And other than that, just loads of butter and bacon on top. That does it.
And yesterday, I think it was you telling me that you were going to make some mince pies with cheese in the crust.
I didn't think you were going to bring that up. For God's sake.
Oh no, because that's amazing.
Yes, yeah, just a very short
short
pastry with crumbly cheese. So I'll use a Cheshire since I live in Cheshire, grated into the pastry. It makes it incredibly short and just gives it a slight, how to describe it? Just a slight extra flavour to the pastry and makes it more interesting.
As long as you don't use phyllo pastry.
No,
I mean that was the most stupid innovation in mince pie technology. Happened a couple of years ago. It's like, here, have a mince pie that bursts like a claymore mine when you bite into it.
I like the phrase "the most stupid innovation in mince pie technology."
This is a technology podcast. We need to make sure that we trend.
The cutting edge of mince pie technology.
I've got more, but I'm not sharing anymore.
It wasn't. It was a blind alley in mince pie technology.
You're the bloody chef. How can we jazz up a Christmas lunch?
Sprouts, right? You can. Who likes sprouts?
I love sprouts, unlike everybody else in the world, apparently.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I love them. You do it, but
I love them. I love them. You just, but if you want to jazz them up a bit, boil them for maybe 4 or 5 minutes. Don't put any silly crisscrosses in the top, and then take to your frying pan and mix them with some chestnuts, some bacon, some breadcrumbs, splash of white wine, maybe some orange juice, and a little bit of orange zest, and that is gastronomic.
That
sprouts.
Quite nice, actually.
It really works. Honestly, it makes sprouts taste amazing. I love sprouts anyway, but if for non-sprout believers, that's the way to get them into this brassica of joy.
Do you have a trad Christmas breakfast, anyone?
I've smoked salmon sometimes. I just tend to stick to booze now.
I usually have a chocolate orange.
Buxters and mince pie.
For breakfast.
Are you 5? Do you wake up at dawn, eat a giant tube of Smarties, and play with your Zoid?
Basically, yes.
That's what he calls it.
Yeah. I mean, isn't that the fun of Christmas? It's basically doing stupid things that you wouldn't normally. So eating really inappropriate things for breakfast is part of the Christmas tradition for me.
What makes Christmas Day magic is it's the one throwback to sort of Georgian society where there is no qualms over the the sort of socially acceptable time to start drinking. I mean, as a high functioning alcoholic, that takes a lot of pressure off.
You get to be yourself for a couple of days.
I do. I get to live the dream, So. And you can't have afternoon board games with that satisfactory edge of competitiveness unless everyone's quite aggressively pissed.
But that was the way you described it last weekend. It was the brilliant competitive board gaming. And
it's only got worse since I've introduced my wife to that family circle. I mean, my wife is someone who plays Scrabble with a medieval dictionary. That's the level of sort of savagery that we're dealing with here. But I mean, occasionally, if I need to put my wife in a place, my parents have an original Trivial Pursuit, the very first release one. So obviously, because all the questions were written in 1984, fundamentally every single question is a history question. It is quite an interesting challenge. My favourite was what cropped up 2 years ago. where my brother was. The question he pulled out was, "What is the closest communist country to London?"
Ooh.
It's now China, isn't it?
Yeah, well, no, but obviously as written in 1984.
Poland.
Poland, yeah.
Was
Okay.
Czechoslovakia?
See,
Was that?
we all thought Mr. Botwright. Well, a
Czechoslovakia.
point. Collect your cheese in your wheel.
Score.
Nice.
Czech
Is that
Republic.
yellow? Is that yellow for that? Oh no, was it?
That was
what
not
And to
Czech
think
Republic,
that
it was
I replaced-
Czechoslovakia back then. Czech Republic now.
Yeah,
It's
I
Czechoslovakia.
replaced all my Trivial Pursuit questions. I managed to pick up a little additional set of football-related questions just so I can beat my niece at it.
Go on, that's it.
You bastard.
Well, she gets the child questions, and there's a massive gulf between the two.
Well, is it like that Family Guy where Peter's being asked the ones from the
Yes.
children thing? It's like,
Yeah,
what
it is.
colour is a fire truck?
Yeah.
My parents didn't like
One of-
this. Children. We
One
had
of
to
my
go to adult.
family traditions, aside from being made to go to church, because apparently it's the birth of Christ or something, which used to really annoy me because it would massively interfere with opening presents. So we moved it to going to midnight mass so we could just spend the morning not celebrating the birth of Christ, which was far more appropriate. But we also, does everyone still sit down and watch the Queen's speech? Is that still like a thing people do?
No, sorry.
Never did.
I
I've
don't think I've ever done it.
I've got nothing against the Queen. I'm not a Republican by any stretch of the imagination, but I honestly have got competitive board gaming to do at that point. You've got to prioritise. So
It's just
Simon, do you
never
watch the Queen's
interested.
speech?
Nah, mate.
Mark, no?
No.
I mean, my parents
you.
used to watch it when I was a kid, but I've got no interest at all.
The thing is, there's not going to be anything new in there. She's not doing new material or anything.
she could spring a bit of a surprise announcing, yeah,
To
actually,
workshop those jokes a bit
I'm-
more. doesn't it?
I'm dissolving both houses of government, going back to an absolute monarchy. Fucking have it. Sorry.
War is declared on China.
That was certainly like Christmas Day, wouldn't it?
Ratings winner.
And that must be said. I mean, that said, I would quite happily watch the Queen's speech over the Channel 4 alternative Queen's speech every single time. I don't know. Literally, there is no greater definition of self-righteous dick than someone that appears in the Channel 4 alternative one. I mean, you're in such great company as Mahmoud Ahmadinejad for starters. So, just saying.
Congratulations on pronouncing his name correctly there, Ed. To be
As I
honest.
say, I can't feel my hands anymore, but I'm still able to talk. So, all right.
That's one of those kind of beers.
Yeah.
All right. And finally, and this is not my idea, this was Phil's, so he can take full responsibility for this one. Given that the world's population is approaching 7 billion, what technology could we use to help Santa out?
Nuclear missile. Cut
That
down on
will-
deliveries.
that will cut down on number of deliveries, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's been
Are
practical.
you suggesting that Santa Claus deploys nuclear weapons? As
No, not him. Just his elves. Keep his hands clean.
Does that mean
This
so
is
when the
asking-
war crimes happen, he can have plausible deniability? I didn't know anything about the nuclear weapons.
Undercover Nazi elves, and they'll do it.
Oh, you've
Well,
been
so
watching that on
obeying
National
orders.
Geographic, have you? Undercover Nazi elves.
I've TiVoed it. I'm going to watch it later.
We were only obeying orders, honestly. All right, so
Honestly,
assuming he
lofty.
doesn't resort to nuclear weapons or some kind of virus to reduce the population of the planet, but instead actually tries to do his proper job and get around the whole place in one evening. Now, if you're younger listeners out there, we're not suggesting it doesn't exist. I'm just questioning how he gets out and does it all in one evening. Time machine might be handy.
Drone
Amazon
aircraft.
Prime
He's
account.
still,
Yeah.
yeah, there's Amazon helicopters. That's what-
Those drone things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a
whole
special
fleet of
festive
drones.
drone.
You could subcontract to Amazon. That's basically what has happened, isn't it? Really? Let's be honest.
Just switch to all digital download. So if you want a present, it's got to be digital download of some sort.
Yeah, but
Just
this
do it all
leads
from a
on
big
to
server.
to my vision.
What, with
of
like
utopia.
3D printers, they just print your
Yeah.
present. with
Yeah,
an order.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got it.
Oh,
Can
actually,
you
that would
imagine
be the solution.
a 3D printer that could print takeaways?
Ed, you'd never get out of the house and you'd be dead in 4 years.
I'd be in my holodeck from last week.
Be on your holiday, gorging yourself on curry.
on printed takeaways.
Curry.
That would be awesome. Oh, fantastic. It's just matter, though, isn't it? You just need to be able to stitch together inorganic matter in such a way as it tastes like a decent chicken madras.
It tastes like a finely crafted curry by a skilled chef.
I don't know. Obviously, your takeaway is at a higher level than mine. I'm not suggesting that it's going to taste like a Michelin-starred dish. I just want it to taste like a chicken madras.
But I hate to sound like a Philistine here, but you've got a phone, you've got a takeaway restaurant. Why are you spending so much money on the 3D printer when you can have it delivered to your door anyway?
Because I don't like them delivering, because it's never as hot as I'd like it. I always go and collect it and drive back pretty much like Gene Hackman in the French Connection.
Do you think that's what's going on in the film? You think he's got a curry on the passenger seat?
No, I don't for a second think that. But that's how I get back from the restaurant once I've got.
So you'd rather trust your 3D printer with Windows drivers or something to make your curry for you?
Linux, but yeah, same principle.
Yeah.
No, as I say, it would probably save me from dying in a fireball at some point. Just saying, I mean, at one point, as I say, it's not anymore, but the small car in the household, at one stage, Kirsty had it chipped and remapped, and I swear it was purely so we could actually both get to the station in the morning quicker and collect takeaways faster. There was no other sane reason for making it go faster than it already did. So, I guess we're already at the strange end of takeaways, but so, as I say, having it done by a 3D printer would be ideal.
But basically, though, to all the children that are listening, that is how Santa Claus delivers all those toys in one evening. He uses a 3D printer. How the fat bastard gets down a chimney is another question entirely.
I don't know.
Save that for next year's podcast.
We'll work on that.
Just some lube, isn't it?
I don't have a chimney. He's going to get through the cat flaps.
So if they went down in the middle of the night and found Santa Claus in that lounge, they'd find some lubed up, covered in soot, fat bloke stuffing his gob with a mince pie.
With some pork, with a pork sword.
I was going.
Sounds like your Christmas morning, Steve.
Just another day at the office.
A chocolate orange pork pie would be the perfect breakfast, wouldn't it? Unless anyone's got anything really genuinely interesting to add.
That'd be a first.
I think we passed that point about 40 minutes ago.
Sorry, Phil's just reminded me of the Family Guy episode where they're trying to take over from Santa Claus because they accidentally kill him. And they're in some guy's house, they end up beating him up, and basically this has just turned into a home invasion. We better get out of here now. Pretty much how my Christmas will end, I suspect.
It always ends in an orgy of bitterness and recrimination, but that's what makes it a wonderful family day. So
indeed it does.
And on that delightful
shell,
we bring to end another glorious year at AV Forums. That's the last AV Forums podcast for this year, obviously. We'll be taking a break for Christmas and New Year. You'll be glad to hear, probably. And then Phil and I will be at CES in the first week of January. So the next AV Forums podcast will be on Wednesday, the 15th of January, 2014. My thanks to, as always, Mark Botwright.
Merry Christmas.
Mark Hodgkinson.
Is that a quote from...
I bet they say it. I bet they say it in the film.
They do. You do. I've got Merry Christmas, Argyle, yes. Apparently. I'm going to count to 3. There will not be a 4. Give me the code.
Simon Crust.
Welcome to the party, pal.
And Ed Selley.
We're going to need some more FBI guys, I guess.
Oh, I can't believe nobody said yippee-ki-yay.
No, that's too obvious. But I can do ho, 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 now I have a machine gun.
Except that's not a quote. It's
you put it back
it's
to
written
front.
on someone's body, isn't it?
Watch out,
now
Cobham.
I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho.
Is it?
Yeah.
You pedant.
Says you.
It's been a long year.
Right. And on that note, we'll end. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Bookmark avforums.com for the latest reviews, news, and videos. Plus, why not leave us a rating on iTunes if you enjoyed the show? I'm Steve Withers. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next year.
It's Christmas time. There's no need to be afraid. At Christmas time, we let in light and we banish shade. And in our world of plenty, we can spread a smile of joy. Throw your arms around the world at Christmas time. But say a prayer, pray for the other ones. At Christmas time it is hard, but when you're having fun, there's a world outside your window, and it's a world of dread and fear, where the only water flowing is the bitter sting of tears, and the Christmas bells that ring there, they're the clanging chimes of doom. Well, tonight, thank God it's them instead of boo. Feed the world. Man, that's high. Feed. Forget it. No, I'm not. I can't sing that part. No. Someone else sing that part. All right. Merry Christmas, everybody. Let them know it's... You know the rest. Thank you.